Good morning, folks.
Morning.
We are just about to start the RSPB Garden Birdwatch. The RSPB...
That's Jack, by the way.
That's our pheasant calling, scaring all the birds off. Every year, the RSPB ask people in the UK to watch their gardens for an hour to get a handle on what the populations of garden birds are like. We're just about to do that, so stick with us to see what turns up in our garden. Before we start though, we need a way to bring the birds into the garden. So I've got a few feeders including peanuts, sunflower seeds and also a load of fat balls the starlings love. On the table I've got mixed food there, all sorts of seeds and peanuts and mealworms and such. And there's the camera we use for live feeding our bird table. On the RSPB's website, there's a load of information that tells you what to do, including a downloadable and printable sheet with some of the more common birds so you can tally next to the birds when you see them. We printed this out, grabbed a pen and a couple of cups of tea, and got ourselves comfortable in the living room looking out the back window. Now, the RSPB do this big garden birdwatch every year, and have done since 1979. And it's grown and grown. Last year, 590,000 people took part, making it the largest citizen wildlife survey in the country, and gives a fantastic insight into the changes in bird populations that come to people's gardens. On the same weekend every year, usually at the end of January, we sit down for an hour and tally up the numbers of each species that show up in the garden. So, for instance, if you get a house sparrow in your garden, then that leaves and you get another. That's still only counted as one, but if you see two together, you count it as two. So it's the most of one species that are in your garden at the same time. So with the rules out the way, how are we getting along? Well, one bird we didn't have a problem seeing was in fact the house sparrow. These were coming in and out of the garden in reasonable numbers throughout the whole hour. This is a species that both our British, European and American audience are familiar with. And here's another you might be as well. The starling. Both species we exported to America. These boisterous birds would show up in small groups and monopolise the fat balls for a while, and then leave, and then come back a bit later. When the starlings weren't taking over, a few other small bird species got a chance, including blue tits. We had a few of these show up. We also had the slightly larger great tit. Although these birds are very vocal and we heard them quite a lot, we only actually noted two during the hour. And of course, what garden in the UK in the winter wouldn't be complete without a robin, the bird that's on a lot of Christmas cards. And a species that can be super brave in the winter, taking food from the hand on some occasions. Today, we saw two of these in the garden. They were constantly chasing each other off. These birds can be quite territorial. There were times where the bird tables were a bit quieter, usually when we got a visit from an unwelcome guest. Who's in, babe?
Squirrels.
Squirrels are in.
Blooming squirrels.
I know we talked about birds we'd exported to America before, but this animal, the grey squirrel, is an import from America. One that was brought in the 1870s and spread so rapidly it almost completely displaced our native red squirrels, and now is a common sight in gardens and parks in the UK. We have a few of them coming to our garden. They chew the bottom of the peanut feeders, bury peanuts in the ground, dig up bulbs, and are a bit of an all-round pest. Now back to the birds, and a few that were coming to the ground to pick up leftovers. The first being a species that's reasonably new to the UK in the whole scheme of things, having first bred here in 1956, only 70 years ago, and is now present in most of the lowlands of the UK. This is the collared dove. Joining the collared doves on the floor, there were a few blackbirds too. We counted 2 males and 1 female, with the males having a fight at one point, one of them chasing the other out of the garden. One lovely bird that I was really pleased to see, and happens to be the UK's most abundant bird, is the wren. Although these have huge numbers in the country, they can be quite shy and skulking, and the reason they have such a large population is that they're extremely adaptable, being present in many different habitats. Apologies for the footage, I was taking it through the window. During the hour we did have a couple of finch species represented, with the most numerous being goldfinch. These are really pretty birds with their red faces and yellow patches on the wing. Despite their attractive appearance, they can be quite aggressive towards each other, fighting between themselves over the food like it was running out. Joining the goldfinch, we had one single female chaffinch, a bird that, although appears to be on her own, has been a regular to our garden over the winter, and I'm glad she showed up so we could count her today. Towards the end of the hour, we did spot a dunnock on the floor, a bird that, although nicknamed hedge sparrow, isn't actually a sparrow at all, being part of the Accentor family. Although appearing reasonably dull, being grey and brown, these birds have a fantastic song. Now coming to the end of the hour's birding, there were a few species that visited the garden in the hour that we didn't get on film, two of which were members of the crow family. We had two jackdaws show up at one point, turfing the starlings off the fat bulls, and also a magpie came in briefly too. The last bird was one that's getting ever more common, the wood pigeon. There was a species that Kaylee was hoping to see that frequents our garden almost daily, the long-tailed tit, but unfortunately they didn't show up during the hour. So when the hour finished, what did our tally look like? Over the hour, we clocked up 14 different species, the three most numerous being house sparrow, collared dove and goldfinch, with starling in 4th place. Now this garden bird watch we do every single year. Did anyone who's watching do it? What birds did you guys see? And our friends in America, how do these birds differ from what you get in your garden? Thanks so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and please press the notification bell. And we'll see you soon for another adventure.